And my last warning to you is that you all should stand firm behind us so that we can prove to the world that when the African is given a chance, he can show to the world that he's somebody. We are waiting. We shall no more go back to sleep anymore. We are going to demonstrate to the world, to the other nations, young as we are, that we are prepared to lay our own foundation. As I said in the assembly just minutes ago, I made it point that we are going to say that we create our own African personality and identity. It's the only way in which we can show the world that we are ready for our own battle. But today, may I call upon you all that at this great day, let us all remember that nothing in the world can be done unless it has the purported support of God. We have done the battle, and we again rededicate ourselves not only in the struggle to emancipate other territories in Africa. Our independence is meaningless unless it is linked up with the total liberation of the African continent. And here, I will ask the band to play the Ghana national anthem. Freedom! Freedom! Freedom!
Did you like or hate what you heard? Let us know in the comments below.
Good morning. It is the 4th day of March 2022. This is the newspaper review segment of Good Morning Africa, live from our studios here, number 48 Swanika Street. And I believe we're also live on Facebook at www.facebook.com/Pan-African Television. Today in the studios, I have with me here Alhaji Sabo. He represents the New Patriotic Party. Honorable Ebiefu Husseini is the Member of Parliament for the Sagnarigu constituency and represents the National Democratic Congress. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
All right.
You've always introduced me as Alhaji, and I've been saying that I'm not Alhaji.
You've not
Quite apart from that, in Islam.
So you see, Sabo, what he's telling you is that
you should go to
you're
Mecca.
going to Mecca is long overdue.
Yes.
No, that's not the case.
Yes, that's the case.
No. You let me learn. Even
That's the
if
case.
I should go to Mecca and come back, I
You're
need
still
not to
not
be called Alhaji.
Why?
Alhaji is only when we are there, because we are many and we don't know
Sabo,
each other's name.
Sabo.
So in order not to offend somebody, you say Alhaji. Alhaji.
You are just being technical. You are just being
But
technical.
is that not the case?
You yourself, you know that in Ghana here it has become an accepted.
Exactly.
You know that if you go to Mecca and come, whether it's right or wrong, they call you Alhaji. No, it has been accepted.
Big bro, you calling me Alhaji, is it not the same? Or am I a stranger?
No, between me and you,
Yes,
but I'm saying that
I'm not a stranger.
if they call you Alhaji, the Alhaji has been accepted in that system as anybody who go to Mecca.
No, but
and come back.
you
So you know that it has come to stay.
know the difference.
I'm saying that it has come to stay. For me, it may be different, but for many people, that's how they
It's
know it.
Alhaji.
It's like now Koshoko has become a name that is now accepted globally as
Exactly.
So
I wouldn't want
this one-
to challenge my elder brother
No.
much,
it
but
has come to stay.
well,
No,
So it's long
but I
overdue.
prefer just call me Sabo.
but Alhaji is Kwashoko not an English word?
No.
No, it's
Are you sure?
local. Yes,
No.
I thought it was. It has now been accepted.
No, it is
No,
not. I don't-
Koshoko is. I think it's not.
I've seen it in the dictionary before.
That's what I'm
no.
saying. And I think that it's now accepted.
I think
see.
we
It's not
started
accepted.
putting it in our textbooks
Yes,
and the rest. So
it's accepted now.
yes.
Because
But even always,
now.
even if you saw it in a book, you will see
it has been anglicized
to tell you that yes.
Now, it's accepted now.
Yes.
Wow. Right. We have quite a number of topics that we'll be dealing with. Chief among them is the fact that Ghana, in 2 days' time, will be 65 years old. We'll be touching on that particular story. That's why we played arguably what is the most popular speech in Ghana's political history. That speech made by Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah at the old polo grounds, saying that Ghana, your beloved country, is free forever. He went on to say that the independence of Ghana is meaningless unless it is linked to the total liberation of the African continent. We'll be touching on Ghana's independence, the story so far, one of hope or one of failure. Also, we'll talk about the Russia-Ukraine crisis, because still Africans are facing racial discrimination on Ukrainian borders and amidst war, which is a very disturbing issue. Also, E-Levy's fate still hangs as Adwoa Safo asks for more time off. Speaker also jets off for medical review. Yes, so these are the stories that we'll be discussing on the show this morning. Alhaji Sabo and Honorable Ebie Fuseini are not the only ones who can contribute to today's topic. You can also do that via Facebook platform at www.facebook.com/Pan-African Television. Send in your messages and trust that once you don't insult anybody, I'll try my best possible and then read all of them for you. Without further ado, let's get into our very first story. Let us quickly deal with the Russia-Ukraine issue. Then we get into Ghana at 65. So I think with regards to Russia and Ukraine, we know what's happening there, the war. And the disturbing issue is that even in war, our people of black origin, yes, they are facing racial discrimination at the Ukrainian borders. You know, everybody wants to move out of the country, looking at the issue there. And even in the evacuation process, it looks as though even dogs, that is what I'm hearing, dogs are valued more than the African people. Even if, you know, like there's a queue. So if you are in front of the queue and you are black, they can send you to the back. Ukrainians who have their puppies, their pets are even more, you know, valued than the black people. Let me start with Honorable Ebie Fuseini on the Russia-Ukraine crisis issue.
Good morning to your good self. Good morning to my brother Sabo. Our technical people in Pan-Africa here, and the viewers of Pan-Africa out there, and of course the indefatigable Blichina people of the Sanargo constituency. Let me first and foremost on this topic that you've mentioned, just maybe to touch just more on the latter part of your statement about black people, that we are the subject matter of discrimination, abuse, denigration, and all the unfit accolades on account of an image problem. I've always said it that one of the things that every human being must not do to himself or herself is to accord yourself an inferior status. It is not for nothing, blessed, that the good old book says, both the Bible and the Quran say that as a man thinketh, so is he. Sometimes you can see the reverence with which we hold white people. And in fact, if you come to even our local parlance, if they want to say somebody has even a better or sophisticated, just say, oh, in a can, mi broni, alai. You people, you speak Chi better than me. Mi broni, you are thinking the broni is light years away from the African. Okay? in things that you do, you struggle to be a white man than the black man Allah Almighty is infinite wisdom created you to be. You are struggling to mimic the white man, to be more white than you were created to be. And so, you see, if a man thinks inferior, he cannot act superior. And that is the mindset we need to change. I have always said it, that a man who has his mouth in another man's kitchen cannot accept your independence and freedom. If you make yourself inferior, there's no way you can. Otherwise, I can say without any item of contradiction that the white man is not more clever than the black man, or was created superior to the black man. Never. Allah Almighty is infinite wisdom did not do that. Indeed, even according to even science, the first man, our father, our grandfather Adam, was a black man. So even genetically and biologically, why a white can come from a black cannot come from a white. So if you look at the genealogy of that creation and others, you will see that while a white can come from a black cannot come from white. So that is why they say the original man was a black man. So how will the original man now become so inferior? And so, you see, many places that we go, they treat us as second-rate human beings. Terrible to relate. So even us, a lot of it will come from those who want to treat us like that. We must take steps ourselves to also guide and fight for our image. Because nobody confers freedom on you on a silver platter. It has to be won through a struggle. So the struggle to redeem ourselves, that is why I always say that Kwame Nkrumah, the legendary Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, he has no size in Africa. Because that is when you start out to conscientize people and tell you that the black man is capable of managing his affairs like any other white man on the face of this earth. And that we are not inferior as Africans. So that conscientization process, for me, bless, is what we have to take on as Africans. But this is just a side issue. And we are, like you yourself said, in Ukraine, sometimes even if a white man is coming with his dog, they will even push you away and push a black man away and let the white man go in front. So that is why even in this Russia-Ukraine matter, as Africans and as black people, we must be able to look at our interests. What is our interest in this matter? And not just go and be hoodwinked to go and vote because of some crumbs and others at the Security Council or at the other fora of the United Nations. And I will come to that. Let me say without any ambiguity that the principle of underlying international relations is the doctrine of sovereignty, independence, and territorial integrity of states. That in the light of the UN Charter, nations that are the United Nations is made up of sovereign, independent nations that congregate there as members of the UN, and that enjoins them to accept the principle of independence, sovereignty, and territorial integrity, which means that you must accept that all states are independent, and not only are they independent, they are sovereign entities, and that they have territorial integrity. Their territorial integrity means that you cannot violate the territories of states without their knowledge, consent, and willful indulgence. So that principle connotes that if another nation forcefully trespasses into another country's territory, then you are violating the independence, sovereignty, and territorial integrity of those states. And so the United Nations, you fall foul of their basic principles of the inviolability of those cardinal principles. So on this score, you can hear a chorus of condemnations of Russia by many, first at the Security Council and later on by the General Assembly. The Security Council being where the veto powers, in fact, that is where decisions that are taken and enforced. The General Assembly, made up of the larger number of members, doesn't have that clout like the Security Council has. And so you hear Russia being condemned by many nations that they have violated the territorial integrity, sovereignty, and independence of Ukraine by invading that country, and there are all now talks of human rights issues, violating of the rights of civilians and Ukrainians as a whole. And so on the first call, you have these things coming out, and I find any act of war regrettable, because it is going to, there's no war where you will not see regrettable loss of especially innocent lives. Every war on the face of this earth has unintendedly brought to the fore the needless loss of many lives, innocent lives are that, for that matter. And so where innocent lives are lost, no human being who has any breath and sanity in him will say that you applaud that situation. Everybody would be concerned. And so to the extent that innocent lives are also lost in Ukraine, it's a matter of concern for which the international community and all of us should be concerned. I'm not even talking about the consequences of that one for the global economy as a whole and other issues. So on that principle, it is there. But bless, I have written on many of this in my nearly 3-decade career in journalism. I was a writer on foreign affairs then before I went into this. It is a geopolitical game. Yeah. Anybody who understands what has happened after the collapse of the Soviet Union, you know, the Soviet Union embodied so many states when, in the aftermath of World War II, the Soviet Union and the United States emerged as the superpowers of the world. And so, following on that, the Soviet Union and the United States had their various, what we call, spheres of influence. America formed NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, where Western nations and others congregated as a military alliance into NATO. Then the Russians also formed what they call the Warsaw Pact. Warsaw in Poland. That was where the treaty was signed. That is where Eastern Bloc countries on the socialist line also aligned with the Soviet Union then. So that brought about the Cold War between the US and the Soviet Union. And then, of course, by extension, NATO and the Warsaw Pact. They say it's Cold War because it was a war of attrition, not physical fighting of a war, but it was a struggle, very intense struggle, development of biological, chemical, nuclear weapons as a way of the arms race getting up to a point where they were staring at each other across the Berlin Wall. And so you had this coming up. Now, in the aftermath of the collapse of the Soviet Union, when the Soviet Union collapsed about 1991, thereabout, you see that there was the creation of what we call an almost unipolar world. If you have two powers and one power's empire and influence collapses, then it creates almost a basis for one power to then take precedence of that other. And that is why the West was seen more or less as having won the Cold War, and now we're almost in the era of a unipolar world where there was only one power. And so what has happened from that situation, that one power, which is the NATO and led by the US, embarked on an aggressive extension. In fact, expansionist agenda. The expansionist agenda was what? To make sure that they are able to rope into their sphere of influence the former Soviet states. So you had former Soviet states like Poland, Czechoslovakia, which split into Czech and Slovakia, Romania, and then you talk about even the Baltic republics, Latvia, Estonia, Lithuania. They are also in those
Hungary.
Baltic. Then Hungary was also part of this. So the United States led NATO move very fast in a very expansionist method to absorb these states. And so, like I said, Poland, Hungary, Czech, Slovakia, all of them were incorporated into NATO. Became first members of the European Union, and then ultimately a lot of them joined NATO. So joining NATO means militarily they are now creeping closer to Russia. It means that if you are a member of NATO, in terms of armaments, positioning of all the dangerous weapons you can talk about. So it came to a point where Russia felt virtually almost getting encircled. Like I said, if you look at the states that were formerly under their spheres of influence, they are all NATO members, with the exception of one or two. So what that brings to the fore is that aggressive expansion of NATO directly threatened the security interests of Russia. Because what that means is that if you have sharing borders with a very hostile state, your security is threatened. I just give you an example. In 1962, under Khrushchev and of the Soviet Union then, and President Kennedy, I believe, when the Russians came closer to Cuba and brought some missiles, it nearly threatened war, because the Americans said that they cannot fathom living with a hostile Cuba, which is just 90 miles across their waters, and that the existence of a nation that is hostile to the interests of the U.S. that close is intolerable to the security interests of the United States. So they found it unacceptable. In fact, bless, even as we speak today, America has waged war. Look at say in Central America against the Sandinistas in Nicaragua, where they had armed the Somozas and others, the Contras and others, to fight proxy wars in Central America, to make sure that there is no influence of the East or Russia or any other country in closer to their territories. So no superpower, and as I repeat it, no superpower will sit by idly and allow hostile countries to creep closer to their borders. So in this matter, some may find it unjustifiable in terms of the human rights angle and other things we may talk about. Well and good. But in terms of the security issue, no superpower will allow you to come and install very dangerous weapons in areas where they share boundaries with. No, they will not take it. And like I say, there is a replete with many examples, some of which I've given in the US and other countries. So under that one, Russia under Putin has also tried to reassert itself because of the prosperity Putin has managed to get Russia into, because the oil industry boomed and Putin began to make a lot more money for Russia. And so he's also stepped up the arms build-up and has also attempted to expand to cover the areas where hitherto the Soviet Union had lost influence. So you see in places like Belarus, where the West had made some this and I think Putin had gone in there and managed to take away attempts to clear Lukashenko, who is the president of Belarus and now strongly allied to Putin. They almost overthrew his regime and brought a pro-Western regime there. So you see how closely they were creeping towards Russia. So that is the act Russia has also embarked upon, to be able to increase its sphere of influence among nations that are neighbors, so that they can ward off the threat of NATO coming too close to the doors of Russia, which security-wise, like I said, no superpower will allow that to happen. You have a hostile neighbor next door. It is from the security point not tenable for anybody. You may use whatever principles of international relations, the principle of the territorial integrity, sovereignty, and independence of states, to counter that argument. Yes, that it doesn't allow you to do that. But from the security point of view, no superpower will allow you to station a hostile country closer to its borders. It is totally unacceptable. And that is why, that is what is underlying the current issue of the war between Ukraine and Russia. It's basically the Ukrainians are the victims of a power struggle between the West and Russia. The West led by the United States, NATO, versus Russia. That is what is happening at the moment. And in all honesty, I see it not only as a failure of diplomacy, but I thought that the leadership of Volodymyr Zelensky, who is the president of Ukraine. I believe that he has not handled this matter very well. In as much as I agree that the territorial integrity, independence, and sovereignty of nations must be upheld at the level of the United Nations. But when we are dealing with superpower politics, it's an exceptional game. And I thought that once this threat has been brandished by Russia, that they will not take kindly to Ukraine joining NATO. And for that matter, posing a security threat to Russia. And that Russia will do all it takes to prevent that from happening. They should have been on the alert. So that if it has to take Zelensky traveling to Moscow or any other place to sit with Putin, President Putin, and negotiate that, look, given the realities of today, Ukraine as an independent country may have wanted to go this course, but for the sake of our country and our people, and for the sake of avoiding a war, because, look, my brother, no matter how brave you are and blessed, and they ask you to go and arrest a hungry, ferocious lion with your bare hands to demonstrate your bravery, that one, the one who is sending you there to go and demonstrate, is killing you. Because that is not bravery, it's foolhardiness. Because the enormity of the task, you, with your bare hands, going to face a lion which is hungry and is already ferocious, you will be eaten up. So there's no way, look, the arsenals Russia has, even the United States and NATO, facing Russia will be a real, the people say that it will be a conflagration for the world. Because they will annihilate one another, even with nuclear weapons. So what about Ukraine? Ukraine is no match. So when I hear people saying that in this war, oh, the Ukrainians are, look, my brother, it's just a lot of restraint. Because if the Russians want to release their real potential, there will be no match. They will flatten Ukraine in a matter of distance. So I did not want to foresee a situation where Ukraine will be willing to go to war with Russia, being goaded on by the West. So I thought that Ukrainian leaders should have been smarter enough to go and have some negotiations with the Russians and guarantee the neutrality of their country. That our country will neither be a pawn of the Russians, or will be a pawn of NATO. We will stay neutral, so that our territory will not become the subject matter of a contest between the East and the West, and save his country. But this thing has been goaded on by the West to go and do today. Now I'm sure you can see the destruction. Yeah. They are destroying Ukraine, and this is just small. If it continues within the next, I'm telling you, there will be nothing left. They will destroy their entire country. And in the face of the destruction, where is the West? Those who were telling you you can stand up on your ground, because they will only tell you that they can give you arms. All that they are saying, they are imposing sanctions on Russia. They are using diplomatic leverages. They are pledging that they will give you arms. They are not going to fight. Oh. They will give you arms to go and fight. And the arms that they are going to give you, they are no match. You cannot match Russia. There's an overwhelming superiority in terms of arms. So, rightly so, yesterday in the evening, I heard President Zelensky now saying that President Putin should be now amenable for them to have talks. At least I was happy when I heard that. That having seen what is coming, because like today they have started seizing their nuclear plants, they've started bombarding a lot of their cities with artillery and others, and the level of destruction is growing increasingly fearsome by the day. So, having seen what is coming, I'm sure that is now testing reality, because they had gambled on the fact that the NATO allies would then come in and say that Russia's overwhelming area superiority, which is enabling them to bomb them at will, they can't do anything about it. They are raining missiles on them from the sea, from the land, and from the air. So it's an unequal contest. And so, seeing the destruction that is coming, I'm sure that his call for me, if the Russians are minded to listen, will be a very good opportunity for some ceasefire to be reached, so that they can then go and negotiate. And I believe in the negotiation, they should find a way of guaranteeing the neutral status of Ukraine. So that Ukraine is neither a member of NATO nor a member of the Russian group, so that they can stay neutral. And I believe that if Russia's security interests can be taken on board, because what has brought about this is that the West was so greedy that they wanted Ukraine at all costs, mindless of the implications of that for the security of Ukraine and the people of Ukraine. What will happen to them if the Russians don't take that line down? And today the Russians have taken it not lying down. They want a no-flying zone. They cannot impose a no-flying zone. Look, they tried no-flying zone in Libya and others. Those are small countries. Russia is a superpower. You cannot try a no-fly zone on them. And like President Biden said, look, if they are going to try a no-fly zone in that area, it will lead to third world war. Because the arsenals Russia will also bring out. My brother, it is not something that any single nation can take. So it will be a total conflagration and a possible third world war. So now the Ukrainians have been abandoned. Not abandoned per se, as they will not do something for them. The sanctions and others, and giving them arms. But they are the ones who carry the arms and be killed. Notwithstanding the fact that they have a duty to defend their country. But in this particular defense against the Russians, they are completely outclassed. If Russia decides to evoke the full arsenals they have, they will flatten the whole country. They will destroy the country. I don't think it is a good thing for the Ukrainian country to be destroyed. And especially for more precious human lives to be lost. So if there's a window of opportunity for those negotiations to take place, so that Ukraine can retrieve its territorial integrity and independence and stay neutral between the East and West and guarantee the lives of Ukrainians, I think that, for me, that is a better option. And that is why I am encouraged that the West abandonment of the principle of collective security. The principle of collective security simply says that your security is as good as mine. If all of us are minded that your security interests alone is not what you should pursue. But let us all have a joint common security. So that once we all have a security, that your security interest is guaranteed, mine is also guaranteed, we are all assured that the world is a safer place for us. But if you are going to go on in the world only to protect your personal security at the expense of another person, the one whose security is at the expense of your security will not also take it lying down. And that is where you have this mutually, what they call MAD, mutually assured destruction. And for me, international relations on this particular this has suffered a serious setback with the Ukrainian spectacle on our hands. And I want to believe that, I want to hope and pray that Putin may listen to the late appeals of Zelensky for them to now sit down and talk.
And dialogue.
And I believe that at the center of the dialogue, Zelensky would have realized by now that what they have pushed him into is not something he can survive. And so if he can retrieve that thing and save the destruction of his country, the better for him.
Right. Honorable Obi, thanks for the education. I think a lot of people are not aware of what is really going on and what may have instigated all of these. A lot of people are saying, okay, they stand by Ukraine, by, I think, by what I would say, a fallacy of appealing to emotions. But like you rightly put it, even the likes of America and co would not sit down idle while somebody tries to, establish something of sort in a country which is very close to them. And the sanctions too, we've seen them, plenty sanctions and this and blah 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 blah. But for a country like Russia, which is self-sufficient, of course, there are certain things that they may have to get from other countries. But to some extent, you can agree that they are self-sufficient.
Bless. The sanctions, no doubt, will have some effect on Russia.
To bite.
The issue is whether the sanctions will be enough by themselves to deter Russia from going on with the war. That is the issue. And from all indications, the sanctions alone will not. And that is why I say that the Ukrainian leadership should take that posture of seeing that, look, we see that if we don't take urgent steps, our country will be totally destroyed. We are willing to look at the issue from a different perspective now and guarantee the security interests of Russia. I'm sure that if they get there, it should be possible for Putin to look at the other wider issue and allow for talks to go on, so that they can save the world of this war and its possible repercussions for others.
All right.
But
let me turn my attention to Alhaji Sabo.
Morning to the good people of the New York of Ghana, Ayawasu East, not forgetting of my people back home in Tamale. My elder brother, the Member of Parliament for the San Nargo constituency, yourself and the crew, and the good people of Medina constituency, where I'm currently helping them to conduct the polling station and electoral area elections. I must take this opportunity to commend one of the contestants. He was actually, he's having the interest to contest for electoral area coordinator in the Medina Zongo area, where I was going to have it tough yesterday. But fortunately, he arrived at a time that I was in a meeting with my people how to deal with the Medina Zongo situation. And then came and told me that for the interest and peace of that particular area and the party, he's stepping down. The name, that's something Selo or something of that sort. I hope maybe somebody is watching and then we'll be able to. So I thank him very much, and the party also thank him very much for the kind of love he has for the party. But my brother, frankly speaking, the people of Medina constituency are very nice people. The way and manner people are hearing of tension here and there, I think what they want is that the right thing should be done. It doesn't matter if the person loses or not. Once you've done the right thing, he will accept it. And we are continuing to pray to the Almighty Allah to guide us to continue to do the right thing for them. Today, I'll be conducting the last phase of the elections. And then I could start compiling the album for the constituency. My thanks also go to the constituency chairman. I'm told he was part of those who negotiated for this particular gentleman to step down. Eric Nati, popularly known as Chairman Dollar. I thank him for that move. And then the MC for Medina has also been very helpful to the process. She keeps on calling me to find out what is the next stage, what is happening, is everything okay, is security okay for us and the rest, which is a very good this thing. Well, having said that, frankly speaking, there's a saying in Dagban that na bagba nakbang. If the chief's dog decide to hunt the chief's guinea fowl, is it my case? It is a case of the chief and his household. However, if there is smoke coming out of somebody's house, if only the smoke would have been within the territory of that person's house, it won't be a concern to me. But once the smoke will extend to where I am, then I must raise concerns. Based on this, I need to also talk about it. If not that, they are all socialists, and they know what they are about. And of course, they don't serve my interest. And there's nothing that they can bring to the table for me. And like my elder brother was saying, all of them, I know the history of Russia, and they don't like blacks, that particular area. They don't like blacks. They discriminate a lot against blacks. I'm aware of that. And I don't even dream of ever traveling to those areas. I'm creating me black on the soil of Africa. Very, very, very grateful to Almighty Allah. I'm forever grateful to Him. That there's a need for us to find out as Ghanaians, what is the effect of this war on us? When I was coming, I heard you talk about the fuel hikes, and then one of the causes emanating from this particular war, because we know Russia is also a major producer of oil, and then once it's affected, I'm told this morning, it has gone to $120 per barrel. So you can imagine, 120 this morning. Something that was around $60 per barrel within the short time, look at where it has risen to. And I strongly believe, and you agree with me, we shouldn't do politics with this. If the government was going to follow the increase, the world is nominally, this shouldn't have been our fuel prices. It should have been more than what we are having today in the country. No doubt about that. Yes, if you are going to follow it, the way the world market, this thing is going, and we're also going to follow the same trend, I think we should have been around 13, 14 liters, what do you call it, 14, 13 cedis per liter, as at now. But we produce, we export. Who removed? No, let me come. Let me come.
It's increased there.
Please.
It's actually to our benefit.
This is what normally I don't like. My elder brother says so many things.
No, if
you never interject. No. So you never. That is it. I agree with you.
No, but
how will you disagree with him? No. How will you disagree with him?
No, I like
No. Please. No. I think, look, anytime I live here, the viewers, in fact, they give me the feedback.
No.
Me, myself, I'll go and sit down and watch what happened. No, you're not being fair to me. Look, I never even clear my truth when he was submitted. And this is what you normally do. Then the long run, tell me that it's time. In the long run, I don't see anything.
So if you say something and I have a question, I shouldn't ask you.
What have I said? What have I said here?
If I'm supposed to ask you a question, I shouldn't ask.
What you are saying is politics. You are doing politics for it.
Go ahead.
Let me go on that tangent.
No, go ahead.
In the first place, who removed subsidies on fuel in this country? Ghanaians used to be cushioned whenever situation like this rises with subsidies. Who removed it? No, which regime removes subsidies on fuel? You see, sometimes there are certain things. Let us discuss the issues as they are. But if you want to do politics, it will not help all of us. No, you ask the question. I'm giving you an answer to that question.
That ideally, fuel prices should even be higher.
And I'm telling you, who introduced taxation to fuel?
And I'm telling you that.
Fuel was not being taxed. It was rather being subsidized. But who introduced taxation to fuel in this country? Is it not the NDC?
Alhaji Sabo, kindly go ahead. Kindly proceed.
Ghanaians were paid for fuel partly by the government. NDC said no, Ghanaians are capable of buying their own fuel. And besides, I also said that no, they need to even be taxed for buying fuel. It's not NDC who did the same thing. But today people pretend as if we are the people.
We people.
We are only dancing. Yes.
We people.
Yeah, you people.
No, but why do you love me?
Listen, we are only dancers. But if you do not bring the song or the beat, we will never dance. But once you play the drums, we will dance.
Alhaji, if I ask you a question,
please.
If I ask you a question,
please,
then it means I'm
No, of course.
Everybody who watches Pan African television
do you mean to tell me that all the things that my elder brother said are the absolute truth?
No, but he never made any allegations against the MPP.
My brother, forget it.
He didn't say anything against the MPP.
He didn't descend into domestic politics.
Exactly.
Now he has brought it.
Please, we are eating to my time. Besides that, when you ask that question, did I mention NDC? Did I mention NDC in my submission?
No, you are saying Ghana.
No. You see,
and I didn't mention MPP either.
No. But how come look? You see, I said all that he said, was it an absolute truth or what? Or all the things they said? And he said he never mentioned MPP. Did I mention
as a journalist?
Listen. If you don't want me to come to do this, let me. It doesn't help at all. Or if you want, I swear. Look, I agree with you. Yes, come and sit. Oh no, yes. Have you ever heard me swearing before? Come and sit here. Come and sit here as NDC communicator and let's debate.
Don't say that.
No, but that's what you are doing to me. That is what you are doing to me.
I can't sit here as an NDC communicator.
And let's debate.
I never even talked about the MPP.
It's not like I'm afraid of you opposing whatever I say. But you being the moderator and always interjecting me, always obstructing me.
I wasn't I only asked the question. Alhaji Sabo, it's only proper.
But you allowed me to flow. But anytime you do this, just to make me lose my thoughts.
You was only educating us on the Russia.
Or is it because today Benamona is not there? So I feel like because we are 2-on-2, 1-on-1, I mean it will be so decent for me.
No, please.
And then why are you doing this?
It will be so much for you.
No, please. Stop this.
Alhaji Sabo, kindly, please go ahead.
You are behaving like the Russians.
I'll be.
Oh, yes.
Alhaji Sabo, kindly go ahead.
You see, first, like I said, me as a Ghanaian, this war, the only interest I have in it is that the effect of it on me And in fact, I agree with my elder brother absolutely when he went on that tangent. As Africans, what is our interest in this war? That is what we must be looking out for. And that's absolutely right. Because today, as we speak, like I'm saying, in fact, I want immediately after this, next week, probably I'll be going to the north. I wish I could go with my car, but I don't think I can make an attempt because of the fuel. I prefer going on public transport so that, the remaining money I can reserve it. Even when I should go to Tambalembe, what do you call it? How do you even call it? Taking dropping. I think it will even help me much better than using my car to go and be going around because of the... Yes, exactly. You see, so this is one of the effects on me as a Ghanaian or as an African. Then, two, if you look at this particular war too, our students over there, now look at the problem. I was listening to news that some were just left with about 3 months to graduate. Others are even in the process of graduation. Others have just started. So you can imagine. And all these people, as we speak now, they don't know their future. They are now running for their lives. And even the state, as we speak, is going to spend huge sums of money to evacuate these people to this country. These are the effects. These are the things that we are feeling as people and on this particular war. Quite apart from that, of course, I wouldn't say because the Russians, because of course in every situation we have good ones. As much as majority of the Eastern European people don't like blacks, there are some few Russians who actually have interest in the development of Africans. And over the years, they provided us with education, free education and other things, just to, especially in the health sector, and the rest, just to cushion our livelihood and even our lives and the rest. So at least, based on this thing too, I don't wish that there should be war in that particular area, if not for anything, for the interest that I have. Because now, right now, in fact, he's aware. I think my house, my elder brothers, almost have 80% of them had their education in Russia. Are you getting me? So if not for anything at all, I have benefited indirectly from whatever, what do you call it, kind gesture that they are extending to us as Africans or Ghanaians. And for that matter, I would be a hypocrite or an ingrate to say that whatever happens to Russia, I don't care. I don't think that would be in the best. Quite apart from that, they are human beings. Even if they are my enemies, but they are God creatures. And you should never wish anything bad for God's creatures. I think in the Quran, we are admonished to always pray for the bad ones, to tend to do good things that we want them to do and the rest. So I think with all these things, of course, I wouldn't sit here and say that I don't care about what is happening in Russia. And then having said that too, I think we also need to know what's the rationale behind this war. And like he was clearly talking about territorialism. Well, of course, the territorial boundary is not just the national boundary, but the regional boundary that we are talking about. Today, I want to ask a question. The United States of America were all independent states. They were all independent states. The Chicago's, the New York, and the rest all, what they call LA, Los Angeles, they were all independent states. And they decided to come together to form a bloc. So if today, Chicago is doing to Ukraine, of course, morally, it's not the best. But if you go behind it and you go to security issues, you understand their fear too. They are not doing it because they hate Ukraine, or they want to inflict pains on Ukraine, or they actually want to go to war with Ukraine. But they are doing it because they want to protect themselves as a nation. Because if US should gain access to Ukraine, and we all know the tension between, or the rivalry between US and Russia, we need not to close our eyes to this thing. We know that they are in the Far East and they are also in the Far West. And their ideology, political philosophy and everything, political ideology, their economic ideology, political, all of them, they are not the same. They are all in the opposite lesson. So definitely, if one is creeping in, I was of the view that the world and the United Nations should have rather even cautioned what they call Ukraine and the other countries who are opting, although they are sovereign independent states, that they have the willpower to do whatever they do. One, it will not actually affect the development and then what they call it, the coexistence of other countries. But there are certain things like this particular thing that is happening. Right, U.S. now having access to Ukraine, and then the next step, U.S. is in Russia. So if Russia also decide to also go closer to U.S. to also have access to a particular state, what will be the issue? Quite apart from that, I also agree with my elder brother when he was saying that if I were the Ukrainian president or even the defense minister or whatever, if they have a council or whatever, I don't think war should have been an option in their scale. War shouldn't have been, because you know the might of Russia. Russia, look, people, I'm hearing people saying things that now, look, they have now regretted. In fact, they thought they were going to have it easy and the rest. To be frank with you, for me, what I know of Russia, this is just a warm-up. This one, because they feel like they are their brothers. So they need not to, you know, like the way the dogs play. You see them using their teeth, but actually they are not biting. They are only holding it. And that is what Russia is doing right now. And I'm praying and hoping that something will be done and then understanding will come in. Because me and you are not safe. That's what I say. I'm talking about my interest. They say they have nuclear weapons. I know what nuclear weapon can do.
Yeah.
It is not a question of it landing in Ukraine and stopping in Ukraine. Like I was talking about the smoke. It will land there, but the smoke will get to us here. And we'll be in total distance. Quite apart from that, today as we speak as a state, our production, what we consume, how much of it do we produce? So if this war should affect some parts of Europe and America itself, without even any nuclear drop in Ghana here, I believe there will be another nuclear that will get us here in terms of supply of food and other things that we will benefit from. And what we are seeing even happening on our markets will be worst off. Because scarcity of goods influence price rise. Is that not it? So there will be increase in prices and other things. So I believe we shouldn't be funding this war and be sitting somewhere and be saying that Russia, what Russia is doing is not the best and what and what. The man, if you observe, all the things people were saying, if indeed he was not strong, he doesn't know what is up his sleeve or whatever, I don't think the way the whole world was talking, he will have backed out. But having said that too, let me also contradict most of the things that I have said. In Islam, it is said that when two people are fighting, and then you come in to make peace, and one of them doesn't want to make peace, and the other one is still trying to attack the other one, that the rest of you who want peace should team up and fight the one who doesn't want the peace. So if, let's say, there was no all these things that we are, all these geopolitical, what they call boundaries, these economic philosophies and other things. Let's say if all these things were not there, we are not privy to all these things. I think what the Western Bloc were doing should have been the right thing. But you can see that this is purely some regional kind of a war, but not actually just looking for peace. But this one, they are really looking for interest. That is why I said that, let's be so, because if somebody does not understand me very well, then the person will say that I have indeed contradicted myself. But for the sake of peace, only peace, and there's nothing behind it, then of course all of us will have condemned Russia. But when you go beyond the peace, you can see that Russia is also looking for peace. And that is why they are also into this war. Russia actually, I believe even as we speak today, Vladimir Putin, he's not happy with what is happening. Are you getting me? He himself is not happy with what is happening. But it is also a security matter. He cannot explain to you and me the reason why he's doing this. He cannot. So sometimes there are certain things we need to understand the way it goes. Me, to be frank with you, like I was saying, I don't have time for the Russians, neither do I have time for the United States. All of them don't have our interests. All of them, they don't have our interests. I'm telling you, they all use us and dump us. Look at even just this thing that is happening. I'm told the kind of treatment these Ukrainians that we're even talking for them here, what they are doing to our people there. What kind of nonsense is that? What have they done? They are just strangers. They are visitors. What have they done? Do they look like Russians? In fact, I believe in Europe, they are one of the most white colored people, the Russians. Among the whites, so when the Russian is time, you can see that this one is Russian. What they are called? Very white. So we are not even closer to the Russians. What I say, we look like the Russians. If they compare you and the Russians, we look like you more than the Russians. So why are you attacking us? What have we done? I'm not talking of only Ghanaians, all Africans. I'm told Africans, they are now molesting Africans there. And even now, people are walking to other states before, they can continue their journey. And I'm moving to where Ghanaians are camping. They are in a particular country. Romania. Yeah. Romania. So I am praying and hoping that all the people, and one thing that I've also heard that is also not good for Ghana, that most of the people that they've taken to this place, some of them too are running away because they don't want to come to Ghana. You see the issue again. Meanwhile, government is spending money to bring them to that particular location, and for their good and security of their themselves and their families too. Now the family also will now be bothering the government. I have not heard from my son. I have not heard from my daughter. You didn't bring my son. You didn't bring my daughter. But I strongly believe that there are lists of them. Of course, if you ask me this question, I can give you 1,000 answers. Kwame Nkrumah himself went through Stoneway. Kwame Nkrumah himself. No, let me come. Oh, exercise patient. You want to listen to me, and I'll give you a story. Yeah. I said Kwame Nkrumah, who you claim brought us independence, himself went through Stone. He ran away from Ghana. Ghana was too hot for him. This one is coming. No. Oh, I am coming. But do you know how they managed to get there?
Oh, a lot of them.
Why? Isn't there education here?
Oh, why? They went on scholarship.
Most of them even went through.
Why? They can't even get.
I said it was even your regime.
A lot of them are
listen.
It's even cheaper. It's even cheaper to do medicine in Ukraine.
Yes.
Please, and I'm saying that most of them, majority of them, they went because once they are around that place, in fact, if you go and check the record, please. I'm not angry. I am not angry. Oh, big bro, how can I be angry on this question? I am only giving you answers. I'm saying that most of them even went through your regime. It was through your regime that they went there because after Ukraine, Russia, I know you are the people who are interested in those areas. So most of them went through your regime. How do I get him? But the point is, we are all aware that Ghanaians have this perception that abroad is better than Ghana. Okay. Even the Ghanaian that we call lazy in Ghana here, when you meet him in Europe, he's a different Ghanaian. He's a different person. He's a very hard-working person. How do I get him? So that is the notion, I strongly believe, the reason why they are running away, that they don't want to come to Ghana. Because he feels that after completing his course, he may even get a better job there to do before coming to Ghana. And other things. So, bro, don't politicize the whole thing. And now, UN. I think Russia is one of the permanent, the security reasons. They are permanent reasons. Yes. And Ghana, we are a member. Yes. We are the
non-permanent.
Yes, the Hallelujah type.
10 non-permanent.
I'm saying we are the Hallelujah type.
We sing the chorus.
So you see. So you see, UN, United Nations. I am not actually privy to most of the media distance. You are into the media. I don't know what action they have taken so far. But it's like they are also tilted towards the US bloc. What NATO and other things are trying to do. That is why, but I believe they should have been the skill. They should have been the one to balance the scale. Right. And then bring out the real issues of the dissent and say, based on this, I think this is the way we should approach the whole thing. Because the US, you are a member of NATO. So if NATO is going there, you have an interest. Russia, if Russia were to be a member of NATO and we were doing this, then people have seen the genuinity of what we are doing. But Russia has always been against NATO. So if NATO is going there, there is just a common enemy fighting another enemy. Are you getting me? So based on that, these are the things that we think should be done in order to bring peace to that particular region. Because, excuse me to say, if we have problem with Nigeria, and all of a sudden we realize that Nigeria has now formed some kind of alliance with Togo, and now they are even going to establish their base in Lomé. which is next to Ghana, until we'll be sitting down here. We'll take over Togo. You know, I'm telling you, we'll take over Togo. So that one, sometimes we must understand the threat that Russia is trying to avoid. It's not Russia which is threatening Ukraine, but it's Ukraine that is threatening Russia. But when you look at the media, and that's why I say sometimes the West, they don't actually help us when it comes to media, this thing. Because we only feed on what is coming. Yeah, but when you go behind the feed, you see the reality on the ground. Yeah. So I think we should be fair to ourselves.
Right. Thank you so much.
I think Sabu said it well, but let me just make some few preliminary points. Especially the double standards in international diplomacy. Yeah. I did indicate to you that there's a respect for the UN's own charter and principles. And on the basis of that, this is what some people can stand on and condemn Russia, which they have those issues to do in terms of the... But you see, those who are talking about seizure and annexation of territory, today, as we speak, the state of Israel, they have violated countless Security Council resolutions, including resolutions 242, 338, which created the state of Israel and the state of Palestine. And today they are occupying Palestinian territories. Okay? Israel has gone and annexed territory of Syria called Golan Heights. Okay? It's Syrian territory. They have used war and forcibly occupied that place against international resolutions and norms. What is the international community doing today? They are occupying that land. Look at the brutalities that are meeting on innocent Palestinian civilians. It's happening today under the nose of the UN. You see the double standards and the hypocrisy. So the Palestinians, they are not human beings. They are not covered by United Nations resolutions. And those who know the history, my brother, I wish we had time so that I will take you through even how Israel came to be created and the UN resolution 242 of 1948. And you see that after the creation of Israel, a Jewish state for Israel and an Arab state for Palestinians, they go and occupy the Palestinian lands again, and in direct violation of UN Security Council resolutions. Nothing is being done. They have moved on to occupy other Arab territories. Nothing is being done. And yet these are the people crying themselves hoarse about territorial integrity, sovereignty, and independence of states. About the human rights and civil liberties of individuals. It doesn't cover some people. I've also seen that there are attempts to talk about the International Criminal Court, that Russia is engaged in war crimes, and there's a possibility that they can refer some of their people to work just yesterday, I think yesterday or 2 days ago, Bensouda, who is doing investigations for the International Criminal Court, was denied the US visa. Because the US, you know that the US does not subscribe to the International Criminal Court. And any attempt to investigate any American soldiers or any American officials in complicity or so-called war crimes will not be tolerated by the US. So you see, those who cannot tolerate something, they want others to tolerate it. So you see that's what I'm saying, that if it's not, sometimes you have to go beyond, like Sabo also mentioned it, you go beyond what you are being told, what you are hearing, to look at the real issues. That is why in a lot of visas, those who were expecting, say, America wants to establish a no-fly zone and prevent Russia, they don't know what they are talking about. Because they are bigger issues. When you catch the target still, you can't continue to hold it and you can't also leave it. That is what people are asking the other members of the international committee to do. So that is why I said, for me, the most sensible way out now
is dialogue.
Is if President Zelensky is very sincere about his call for dialogue, and that he wants a rethink from his previous position of allowing the West to goad him on to attempt to confront Russia. And that's why I said that it's like being told to go and catch a ferocious, hungry lion with your bare hands. It's not bravery, it's foolhardiness. They are fooling you. So now that he's seen what is coming, and I believe that if he's sincere to ask for Russia to cease hostilities, for them to sit down and talk, so that they can guarantee the neutral status of Ukraine, so that Ukraine doesn't recklessly go into the West and be part of the Western military alliance, so that they compromise Russia's security and Russia will come after them. I think that is the same way out.
Right. Thank you very much. Alaji Sabo, I'll come to you on Ghana's 65th Independence Anniversary celebration, which comes off in 2 days. I think this time around we are taking the celebrations to the central region of Ghana. That's where the grand event is going to take place. I know it's a nationwide event across all the 16 regions of our country to be celebrated, but the big one will be happening at the Cape Coast, at the Cape Coast Stadium. It's been 65 years since Kwame Nkrumah made that famous statement at the old polo grounds that Ghana, your beloved country, is free forever. 65 years on later, we keep on asking ourselves these questions, whether we have been able to make any gains as a people, whether or not we have been able to live up to the billing as to what is expected of us as a people. If you look at our economy, if you look at demographic dividends, if you look at in 1957 the population of Ghana, if you look at the population now, if you look at the demographic dividends, and you try to tally it with development, have we been able to do good as a people? People say that you go to some parts of the country, there's still not potable drinking water. There's still schools under trees. How far have we come as a people 65 years after independence?
Thank you very much. I've been hearing people saying that if Ghana were to be a human being, Governor should have been on retirement by now without a house to rest in. But when you take your time and read the history of most of these great nations, most of them, including America, it took them over 100 years to be able to be on their foot, to be on their feet, to be where they are now. So I don't think it is too late for Ghana for us to get to where they are. The unfortunate lesson that some of us sometimes don't realize is that we gain territorial independence, but we never gain intellectual and psychological independence. We were still up to date, still being colonized by our colonial masters. Until recent times, our curricula has always been based on what the white man dictated for us and what have you. And then if you want to understand very well what I'm trying to say, take a cue from our sister continent, that's the Asian continent, and see all those who are now emerging. Look at first, their lingua franca. China, they speak the Chinese. Look at how far they have developed. Koreans, they speak the Korean language. India, the same thing. Is it India? I think the language is Indian, Hindi.
Yeah, they have Hindi. I think India has multiplicity of, but the majority is Hindi. Hindi. But they have their own writing even. Exactly. They have developed their destiny, and it's a national destiny. So all these countries, if you look at them, Malaysia and the rest all, they detach, they wean themselves from the intellectual destiny and the rest, and had their own destiny before they were able to move on. But as we speak today, we are still being spoon-fed by our colonial masters' educational, system. So I believe it is high time we had a kind of a paradigm shift in our curricular destiny. And I believe this current government was trying to, I mean, they are in the process. I think it's not this current government. If I want to be fair, I think it's way back as Raleigh's time that these things started up to date. But it's like we are a bit slow on getting there. People are saying that in Ghana, there's no way we can have a particular language. That's not true. All these countries that we are talking about, they also have different dialects that they speak. But the most dominant ones, the one that will be very common to everybody, that everybody can express himself, is the one that we all need to use. And we need not to be hypocritical about it. I'm a Northerner, all right, but I think that Kan language dominates all other languages in this country. If you're in Ghana and cannot speak Twi, you cannot speak English, then it's better you learn the sign language. It will help you. No, let's speak the truth. The truth must be told. Unless, of course, you want to restrict yourself to your region, where you come from. But if you want to go outside your region,
you must be able to speak English or Twi in order to be able to communicate to other people. I think apart from Twi even, but many people may want to, will not agree with me here. Apart from Twi and English, the other dominant language in this country, which is rather not, what they call it, an indigenous listen, is the Hausa language. Apart from English and Twi. Here, if you speak Hausa and go to any other region, you get somebody to communicate with. And what have you. So I think we need to look at our educational system very well and see how best we can catch up with other disciplines. Quite apart from that too, I think the nature of our politics also is not helping us. It is like, for now, if you look at myself and my brother, we belong to two political parties. And unfortunately, our ideologies are not the same. They have different way of seeing how, as a nation, we should develop. And we have a different way of also having it. So it is like the 8 years alternation. We take the country this way, then these people also bring it this way, then these people also turn it this way. So the country itself is dazing because it's been tossed here and there. So I believe if there's a policy framework, that there's a national development plan that Dr. Nkrumah tried to, the 7-year development plan that he was bringing up. If we can come out with something like that, which will even take us about 20 years, that regardless of your political destiny and the rest, when you come, this is the program that you should add to whatever you want to do as a political party. I believe, like we make our mind that the next 10 years, there should be double road from Accra up to Tamale or up to Bolga. It should be double road. Are you getting me? Yes, dual carriage, thank you. I think, or there should be a railway system right from Aflao up to Paga. So it doesn't matter which political party is in power. That program continues. So contractors will also not be afraid to take contracts there because they know that one is a national one. It's not a political thing. So they will also be pumping money into it, knowing that they will get their money. And you can see even indigenous businesses are being sometimes deliberately collapsed just because they feel that they belong to this particular side. Meanwhile, the person is helping the country to develop.
That's true.
And even we, the Ghanaians who are talking so much and the rest, tell me how many people are in the public service today, like Jesus Christ made a call in the Bible, that he who knows that has never sinned before should cast the first stone. How many of them today are working for the country, just for the development of this country, and not for the fattening of their pockets? How many of them? The technocrats are even more corrupt than the politicians. I'm telling you, when you go underground and check, those who there, they normally tell the politician, look, master, we've been here before you came. If you want to bring this kind of this and this, and you live here without anything. This is the system. I'm telling you, they will tell the politician. Sometimes the politician comes with a clean mind, but it is these people who corrupt the politician. So as people, we say, we ourselves, we need to change ourselves. What changes have we brought to ourselves? You agree with me today, the public sector and the private sector, which one is more efficient? Now tell me, the public sector and the private sector, which one is more efficient? Today as a parent, you don't want to take your child to the public school. Meanwhile, look at the whole state, oh, the capital is huge. But I don't want to take it there. Somebody who has just established a school in a corner, maybe apart from that area, the school doesn't have any branch anywhere. Yeah. You don't want to take your child there. And the most secured one there, you don't want to take your child there. Because you yourself, you don't believe in the system. And who is the one causing it? You. I've always said, look, when I was in the public sector, when I was teaching, to frank with you, teachers in the public sector, they teach very well. They teach very well. But if I have, what do you call it, a maid in the house, and I have my children, I'll take my own children to the private school, and I'll bring the maid to the public school. And then the same maid, when we are in the house, when my children are sleeping, the maid is working, and other things. And only go and be disturbing the public school teacher with sleep and other things. In the long run, you say the public school teacher is not teaching well. How can he teach somebody like this? The person is already tired before coming to school. The person is already tired. So there are so many things that we do. And then, of course, circuit supervisors sometimes also don't go and do their supervision. So if I know that my circuit supervisor will never come, and today I don't have a lesson even to teach, what do I need in the school? People are normally absent, but they are marked by their colleagues present in school because there's nobody to check whether it is the true signature of the person. I'm telling you. The clock-in system, I think some time ago as a country, we wanted to adopt it. Where is it again? Yamutu. Because the CEO himself realized that it is affecting him. So they say there's a technical problem with it. The thing cannot work again. So all these things as a country, until we all begin, and I've been saying it, the only way we can revolutionize our economy, which I have seen the government of Nana Akufo-Addo actually pumping a lot of money into that area, is agriculture. I think if you begin to encourage, and I'm very happy to see most of my the members of the legislators, most of them now, majority of them are farmers. Almost all of them are now looking for farms. I don't know whether Big Bro, you've also gone into it. And which is a very encouraging, because they are one of the most respectable people in our communities. Honorable, when they see and say, Honorable himself is a farmer. Then if Honorable himself is having a farm, me to let me go and look for a farm. So they become role model to the youth in that particular sector. And it becomes attractive. And these are the things that I feel that if we are boasting of our age as an independent country, that we should commit ourselves into doing. And to be frank with you, let me tell you something. I don't know how things are going, but sometimes in this country, when you are speaking the truth, you are seen to be somebody who is, how do I even put it? There's a word that they normally use it against us. How do we even put it? I've forgotten. This country, it's just God. It's just God who is on our side. But we ourselves, we are pretending to be united. But we are not united, in actual fact. It's just God who is holding us together. But we ourselves, we are not willing to hold ourselves together. And I think on a day like this, these are some of the lectures that should be given to us. National orientation towards this kind of unity, towards this kind of what do you call it, public, our behavior towards public sector, anything that belongs to the state, how we should handle it, and the rest. Today, as we speak, myself and you, me, this time that I have stopped doing it, but I used to do it. There's no way I will drink water or something and then throw it outside my car. I'll put it in my car and get to the house and then put it in the dustbin.
Put it in my pocket.
No, yes. But to be frank with you, I used to do it. And even those, I also used to say that the way people are saying that after I pay tax, what's the work of the assembly? I didn't know to clean the place and the rest. All these things. And today, Ghanaians are even afraid. When somebody throws something, everybody is quiet. Because like, when he does it and others are passing by, nobody seems to support him. And he seems like somebody, a troublemaker or something of that sort. So you keep quiet. You are sitting in trot or somebody is doing something different. I think one thing as a nation that I realized so far we've been able to stop. I don't know the last time somebody witnessed somebody smoking in public again, like in a public transport. You know those days trot, you'll be sitting in trot and somebody smoking. But this time I don't see those things again. I think that's when we've been able to educate it. But a lot of negatives are still with us that we need to do. You see, so I strongly, and cocoa, and when I'm talking of our grape, cocoa has been the backbone of our economy. And even up to date, if people are not aware, I just want to know, is that when you come to the industries, I think the major contributor to our GDP now is the service industry. You are the people now giving us the money. And even the chunk of the population is now employed in the service industry. Then when you move from that place, before you can come to the what they call it. Even industries are even countries. The population, larger number of the population is in the agri sector. But in terms of contribution to GDP, industry is even ahead of agriculture. Services first, followed by the industries, then agri. Meanwhile, agri used to be the major lesson. But as we speak, when you isolate them, cocoa stand tall than all of them as a major contributor to our GDP. So I think as a nation, we need to see how we are ahead of Cote d'Ivoire. But now Cote d'Ivoire, we are now second to Cote d'Ivoire. Yeah. What do we do to be able to get those things? Sometimes what I've learned is that, like I was saying, this kind of lack of nationalism and we feeling. Most of our people smuggle the cocoa to Cote d'Ivoire because of the attractiveness of their price. Not that we are not actually cultivating cocoa, or our cocoa is not doing well, but we smuggle it to Cote d'Ivoire and they add it to their addition, and that makes their numbers become huge and then that. Then I think we need to look at all these things and see how best we can revamp that particular sector.
Right. Thank you so much, Alhaji Sabo. Honorable.
Yeah. I intend to be very brief. then we can get some opportunity to look at the last.
No, you can. So you can marry the two because actually we are hard pressed with time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
You can just
is that
touch briefly on both topics.
I, without any shred of doubt, it's one of the most important epoch-making events. Not only in the history of Ghana, but in the entire Black African and diaspora. You know, you have to really appreciate the depths from which we come to know where we are today and appreciate what achievements we have made. Indeed, the British themselves did not reckon that we will get independence in 1957. Especially so when there were people in this country who sent a delegation to the British to tell them that we don't want independence now. And that, in fact, we are not even ready for independence. And that the black man, we can't look after ourselves. And so sometimes I hear some people say today, it's true. Have we been able to look after ourselves? So even independence was not meaningful. You can hear people say that. And I wonder whether if we're under the yoke of the colonial order, those people who are talking like that will be where they are. And bless, I will say it without any iota of doubt that Ghana's enviable status as the first black African country south of the Sahara to shake off the colonial yoke and entrust the destiny of the nation into the hands of their own people had no parallels. And that is why, bless, when we elevate Kwame Nkrumah to the status of the founder of this nation, and some people don't want to accept it. It is not just that Kwame Nkrumah did this for only Ghanaians, but for the entire black people across the world. That inspiration that an African country had now won its political independence and had taken the destiny into its own hands to forge forward. And then, post-independence, you will see the way Kwame Nkrumah started. Look at the industrial base he sought to set up for the nation. The Gihok group of companies. The building of the Akosombo Dam. The Temamoto Way. The aggressive infrastructure Kwame Nkrumah put in place to make sure that one thing, bless, was that if you have your mouth in somebody else's kitchen, you cannot assert your independence and freedom. Kwame Nkrumah sought to manifest that in real deed, so that Ghana would be a productive nation that produces what it eats and eats what it produces. That was the concept of true freedom Kwame Nkrumah wanted to bring by starting the policy of indigenization to get Ghana to industrialize and to ensure that not only were jobs created by people, but to put Ghanaians to work. So during the CPP time, you had what they call work and happiness. That out of productive work, you generate income, wealth, and be happy. That was the basis. So productive work was the basis for happiness in this country. And people were proud to work for the country, generate wealth, get a generous part of the wealth. It's a very long story. Coming from independence through all the various regimes that we had to go through to come to our fourth republic. I can only summarize and say that the dream of independence that the Osagyefo and others, through that we've drifted in some way away from that dream of the founding father Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah and all the other patriots who fought for our independence. Because governance and government must remain solidly accountable to the people. Government must answer to the dire needs of the people. Government must remain sensitive to the interests and aspirations of the people. Bless, if you ask me today, that is our government living up to these ideas of being sensitive to the interests and aspirations of their people, I'm sure Ghanaians know the answer better than me. especially under the government that we are today. And I'm sure maybe I would take that opportunity to drift into the other decision, except to just add that those of us who have the rare privilege of functioning as political actors must not see that as a right. We must see it as a privilege to serve our people who have sent us to various decisions, whether as legislators, as presidents, vice presidents, and whatever, to endeavor to live up to their billing, their calling, their suffering, to reflect their position. You cannot be a leader in a situation where there's extreme hardship and austerity and sacrifice, and you are living opulent lifestyle, vulgar opulence, which does not even reflect anywhere near to the livelihood and cries and concerns of your people. That is the dream of the independence that people fought for them to be able to see their leaders take on board their overbearing needs and aspirations, even as they deserve to be heard. So, bless. Today, I was coming up again, and I'm sure you just heard that fuel prices went up. Just this year, fuel prices have gone up 7 times. This year, we are just in the first week of March, First week of March, fuel prices under this government, just within this short period of time. So today, not only have we broken the 8, in fact, we are heading catastrophically towards the 10. Today, what economic picture are we operating? And I have heard, if you look at the kind of economic picture that we have here, virtually all the macroeconomic indicators are missed. Inflation on the upward swing. Exchange rate ran away. In fact, the CD is dropping like a newly liberated coconut from a tree. Free fall. Okay? Cost of living. I was listening to somebody said that, oh, he went to buy gas, LPG, and they said it was 177. He left it to go to work and come back. When they came, they told him it was 184. The same day. So what kind of economy are we operating today in Ghana? Look at the escalating level of prices. Plus, look at the quantum of borrowing. Never in the annals of our country's history have we done that level of reckless, irresponsible borrowing. To the point that today, the major institutions of finance, including the IMF, World Bank, and others, have declared Ghana a debt-distressed country. Moody's, Fitch, and others rating agencies have all downgraded us to C. That is junk status. That's the last category. So you see that in this one's reflecting in the lives of our people. It's an excruciating level of hardship to which everybody is up in arms. And today you are hearing what this and that as evidence of the catastrophic mismanagement of the economy, that if we don't get an estimated 6.8 billion from e-levy, then everything, the economy will collapse. As we speak now, the salaries of many workers have not been paid. In fact, bless, even I, as a member of parliament, members of parliament have not yet been paid as we speak. Other workers in the public sector and other, many of them have not been paid. For the first time in a very long time.
Workers have been paid as at yesterday.
Which workers?
Public workers.
Who is called public workers? Tell me which public workers have been paid. I'm telling you that.
Right now, she's speaking.
I'm just telling you that.
Pregnant.
I'm just telling you that many public workers have not been paid.
I am saying that workers have been paid.
Show me which categories of workers you have been paid.
Yes.
Which this
NAPCO.
NAPCO.
Yes.
NAPCO, you are even having arrears. In fact,
I'm just if
Bless you open the
I thought you were going to ask me.
Someone, maybe you should be the managers. You are paying yourself as managers.
You are saying,
look, there are 7 months arrears on your hands. You
and
have not
I'm
paid.
telling you that public workers have
Which
been paid
NAPCO workers have been paid?
Yesterday.
Sabo.
Public workers have been
I am
paid.
just challenging
telling you this.
that NAPCO 7 months, 7. In fact, if
That's
you
not
add,
true.
if you
That's
have
not
January and February, 9 months, you have not paid some of your workers.
That's not true. It's just 2 months.
Which 2 months?
2 months.
NAPCO.
Yes, that have not been paid.
Sabo.
I actually don't want to interject. Sabo.
Sabo.
You brand me.
Look, this is a matter of public
You
record.
have the facts.
No.
That's why I'm inside.
Sabo, it's a matter of public record.
And
I'm saying that it's just 7
NAPCO
months.
people call in here. Some on the health
should
board
call,
and they say 7 months.
Yeah,
They
They
are
are
not
lying. In fact,
Even the
they are
demonstration they held.
So why did they demonstrate? Why did they demonstrate?
2 weeks ago.
During 2
2 weeks ago,
they were
demonstrated.
talking about they securing permanent job and other things.
No.
It wasn't.
No,
It wasn't
You're talking about
because of
it.
that.
They said that you said they should.
It was part of it. It was part of it. But they also demonstrated on the fact
Let me
that
tell you.
most of them hadn't been paid.
NAPCO, as we speak, it was the Hill Ghana who were having the problems. And Hill Ghana, before they went on that demonstration, they were paid that idea. It was left with just 2 months.
Sabo.
Honorable, kindly wrap up for us. I think we
It
have
was only
fresh
Hill
research.
Ghana that was having that
As we
that
talk,
problem.
there are crippling arrears.
No. There's no any area
for NAPCO workers. You haven't paid them.
No.
So you have to clear the arrears.
If you say arrears, I will not dispute you, but I'm saying that they are 2 months.
Arrears. If you haven't paid the arrears, so how can you pay them now?
Which one?
February salary.
I'm talking of the workers.
I'm just. It's the workers I'm talking about. The arrears are with the workers.
No. They are not workers. We have NAPCO what they call trainees. Then we have NAPCO workers.
Yes.
So I'm saying that as a worker at NAPCO.
I'm saying that you the people who are workers and aligned to the party, you are the people who have been paid.
Workers and aligned to the party.
Of course,
So the trainees
you don't know that.
No.
You don't know that when you constituted the DC, there were parties that people you
let
there.
to come. So the trainees who are aligned to the party. The trainees.
Most of them, the recruitment that you were doing, wasn't for your first studies. No, your first studies. But let me just touch briefly on this E-levy and Adwasafu. In all honesty, that is why I said that I find the E-levy to be ludicrous. Look, in the first place, we do not even need to get there. Government alone, curbing corruption, malfeasance, misapplication, and others. According to the Auditor General's report for 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, we lost a total of 33.3 billion Ghana cedis. If we plug the loopholes, we can save all that money and make the imposition of additional taxes unnecessary on Ghanaians. Okay, we are expecting 6.8 billion at most from the E-levy. We are losing 33.3 billion through corruption, waste, misapplications, and all those things. If you take steps to carry, will you need to impose this one? Your extravagance, as we speak now, we say there's no money. The president just went again. I think that's his 6th or 7th charter of luxurious presidential jet to fly out of the country again. To go and do what? Frivolous trips that even a deputy foreign minister can go. He himself, he goes. Even sometimes to go and watch Chelsea versus Tottenham's Hotspur and something match. What is that? It's mindless extravagance. Cut that extravagance. You are going on convoy, 40. Even including two. One is carrying his chair. Never in the annals of our country's history have we seen a president going somewhere and a chair being carried after him. Chair. You see the mindless dissipation of public funds. You think the president, when spending his money, he can get a V8 to get a chair, this is to be carrying a chair after him. Someone tell me which president has ever had chair following him wherever he's going. Which place will you go and you get chair to sit down?
And which president is doing?
Because if the president even goes to the village, they'll get him the best chair in that village. You know that.
So
why does he need to get a V8 carrying chair after him?
Which V8?
There's a V8 if you don't know. There's a V8 carrying chair after him.
You are the one saying, so you should let us know. So when we see the V8, we know that this V8
is his convoy.
Give us the number of the V8.
It's in his convoy. You know that. It's a matter of public record.
No, you see,
I should give you the number of the
V8s on the streets of this country. So,
I know that you are not sleeping. You want me to wake you up. When you are not sleeping, I won't wake you up. I won't attempt to wake you up.
No, you shouldn't say something that you cannot prove.
So that is the story of the dissent. We say that it's a pillage because e-levy is money in people's wallet, electronic wallet. Government has no authority whatsoever to tax that money. It is money that is already taxed that they are put in their purse. And so to attempt to tax it is amounts to thievery, to steal their monies. It's not acceptable. But coming to the fact that they are trying to blame this innocent woman, this innocent member of parliament for Domi Kwabenya, Honorable Sarah Juasafu, for their woes and the non-passage of the e-levy. And those who said she had been acting illegal and other day. We were here when they said the government had granted her leave. Ally. Was it not a matter of public notice that she had been granted leave? And so if you are granted leave, is that not official permission? And so on the expiry of the thing, she has written to Mr. Speaker to ask for additional 4 weeks to enable stay away and attend to some other matters affecting her. What wrong has she done? And in any case, bless, I have been saying it, that me here, I'm a member of parliament, courtesy the good wishes of the people of the Sanaro constituency. So if the people of Sanaro constituency send me to parliament, and they tell me that they don't want me to go and do something, for instance on this e-levy, the people of Sanaro overwhelmingly, more than 98%, say they are not in favor of e-levy. And I go and sit in parliament, and I say that I am the MP, whether they like it or not, I will pass e-levy, irrespective of the wishes of my people. Am I functioning as a true representative of the Sanaro people? So they did a survey in Domi Kwabenya, and overwhelming majority, more than about 91%, said they didn't like e-levy. So Sarah Adwosafu Honorable is the member of parliament for.
If you are saying this survey in Domi Kwabenya, is it that only you people are privy to that survey?
Yes,
why not bringing it out for us to
it's there.
critique
They
it?
put it on social. It's there. So let me make my point. If you want to counter it, then you counter. So this matter has come up. So as a member of parliament, if she does not support e-levy, is she not acting in conformity with the interests of her constituents? Sarah Adwosafu is acting in conformity with the interests of her constituents who say they don't want e-levy. So if she doesn't appear to vote for e-levy, is she not being compliant with the interests of her constituents?
Now look at where he has. Look at where he has.
She's complying with the interests of her constituents.
Right. Thank you very much.
Let me make this point and land.
Why you were trying
those
to
who have
say
been complaining. Number one, I say she has written to Mr. Speaker asking for 4 additional weeks. So those who were harboring the decision that the e-levy will see the light of the day, they must revive their nose. E-levy yamutu. But beyond that,
no.
I won't talk of even some additional complications they have. But beyond that, to remove a member of parliament is not math. Let me use our common language, math. Or wishful thinking. That the MPP can just go and issue a statement. Sarah Adwosafu has been dismissed as a member of the New Patriotic Party. So because she has been dismissed, she's out of parliament. They are joking. It doesn't go like that. You have every right to dismiss any member whom you feel has violated your rules or regulations or your laws. But you cannot just dismiss a member of parliament because it is not only MPP people who vote for a member of parliament. There are people in Domi Kwabenya who are not MPP members who voted for Madam Sarah Adwosafu. That mandate ought to be protected. And that's why there are lawmakers in their wisdom. When that one happens and you refer that in, it will come to Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker will refer the matter to the Privileges Committee. Okay? Now the Privileges Committee, we have equal numbers with the MPP. I think it's about 9-9 or 11-11. Okay? When it comes to the Privileges Committee, the chairman of the Privileges Committee, who is the first deputy speaker, does not have a vote. I hope that place he will not come and say that he's going to leave the chair and go and vote. Because even if he attempts it, even at the Privileges Committee, some of us will not allow him to do it. Right. So if we are going to even vote at the Privileges Committee, if it is 11-11, we shall be 11 and there will be 10. It is only in a tie that the chairman of the Privileges Committee will exercise his casting vote. So even at the Privileges Committee, we will support our sister, Honorable Sarah Adjuasafu, and we will not allow that matter to go beyond there.
Right.
Even in the event, listen, even in the event, in the unlikely event of it going beyond the Privileges Committee, it will have to be referred to the plenary, to the full sitting of the House, for us to vote. And for us to vote, 2/3 of the members of the House must support the motion to remove Honorable Adjuasafu. And take note that she herself will be a member of Parliament voting. So it is clear that she will not vote against herself.
Right.
That's the first thing. And if she's not going to vote for herself, where would the MPP get 138 to get that of?
Right.
Even to get a majority, I'm not talking of 2/3. Even their majority, where would they get the majority?
Right.
So they should eat humble pie.
Right. Thank you so much. I think my producers are notifying me. They've been notifying me for quite some time now that we are hard pressed.
I'm sure somebody is really sympathetic to Adjuasafu's case.
Oh, yeah,
he knows that
yes,
is true.
deep down his heart.
Oh yes, he knows. He has told me.
Thank you so much. It's been another interesting edition of this.
No, you know, I don't, yeah, you see, you're laughing. You know, this is not a
See
balanced
you.
decision.
See you on Monday. Bye bye.